For several years now, I've been keeping something of a radio diary. If I'm feeling particularly passionate about something, usually about work, I'll record myself talking about it in my iPhone's voice memos. It's gotten to the point where I would sometimes pretend that it's a podcast and try to structure my thoughts as though I'm speaking to someone and not just mindlessly ranting.
Okay, back to some voiceover related rants on voice memos. I am your resident voice actor.
When I create a character voice for either a new project I'm doing or based on instructions I'm given on audition sheet or prompts or what have you, what I do is look at it from every potential angle. Every possible situation this character could end up in, I have to create those in my head and use it to inform my decisions. Back to some more voiceover related rants on voice memos. I'm your host, your local voice actor.
But why pretend? Working in voiceover has given me the opportunity to learn audio editing, and being Gen Z, I've always been interested in podcasts. The tricky thing is, I don't like talking to people. I especially don't like talking to people about myself. So I figured if I was going to do this, the easiest route would be to structure the story I'm telling about what I'm most passionate about.
Voice acting.
I've dealt with social and performance anxiety for as long as I can remember. At the same time, I was fascinated with the idea of being an actor. I just loved media. Animation and live theater especially. Eclectic, I know. I loved reading TV and film credits growing up, and it was recognizing names like Jim Cummings, Greta Lyle, and Tara Strong across numerous programs that I learned what voice acting was. I saw my first Broadway show when I was 11 or 12, Matilda the Musical, and it was just awe-inspiring. I can't explain what it was, but I was just obsessed with musicals. The use of singing as a method of storytelling was so ingenious to me.
It reminded me so much of animation.
Making that connection cemented one of my life goals, to act in an animated musical. A dream I still carry with me to this day.
And it's not just me. I want this series to serve as an introvert's guide to navigating the choppy waters of voiceover and theater performance. And for anyone out there who has the same dream as I do, just know that I've been you, I see you, and I want to share my journey in working towards it in hopes that it might inspire you to do the same.
I'm Kayla B. Marie, and this is Bow to Booth. In this podcast, follow me as I inquire about how to work towards my dream and explore the similarities and differences between theater and voice acting, how both areas of the entertainment industry inform each other, why theater training is so highly recommended to prospective voice actors, and how to manage performance anxiety. Episode 1: Foundations. I've always been the hyper-organized, multicolored schedule-making type, and I definitely acknowledge that there is power in planning. Especially in this era of technology, there have been many studies that stress the importance of writing things down using pen and paper. The tactile, physical act of writing down what you need to do helps you remember, and creating visual aids like manifestation boards can be incredibly therapeutic. Having a vision board or colorful bullet journal can serve as a constant reminder of your goals and keep you motivated. However, there is such a thing as too much planning. Although I first made the connection between musical storytelling and animation at around 11, it took another 6 years before I was fully able to admit to myself that this is something I wanted to pursue seriously. Up until then, I thought I had my entire life planned out. As I mentioned earlier, I've always been passionate about storytelling, and had decided at a very young age that I would go into writing, all while keeping my dream of becoming a voice actor under lock and key. In an old closet in the attic of my parents' house, I tacked up some moving blankets and recorded tens of hours of audio on a microphone from Amazon. Narration, voice impressions, song covers, ideas from my own original character voices, and early versions of my radio diary. Sometimes I'd work up the courage to post some of my audio online, behind a copyright-free background and under a screen name, of course. It started out as a way to keep myself occupied during lockdown in 2020, but I enjoyed it more than I expected to. I enjoyed writing scripts for myself, recording my own voice, experimenting with my vocal range, and the process of editing. I loved musicals and animation, but I couldn't allow myself to love it as much as I loved to write. Because if I did, I'd want to try to pursue it, and that wasn't an option for the girl who couldn't order food over the phone or ask a shop clerk where the bathroom was. I didn't think so then, but I let my shyness and social anxiety dictate so much of my life for a very long time. And it worked. It worked for a while. But one day, my dream became too big for the vault, as many repressed dreams do, and I had to ask myself the question, when your passion changes, do you follow? In my case, my passion didn't entirely change. I still love to write. I studied writing, I write professionally, and I write for myself. I just added another ingredient to the recipe that is my life. For those who are making a more drastic change, what I suggest to you is to create an environment where you can comfortably start nurturing your dream. That environment can be anywhere from your home studio, office, or bedroom. For me, it was my university.
I'm Maya Murphy. I'm an actor, I'm a nerd, and all-around weirdo, I guess. I bring a chaotic vibe to the party, for sure.
I'm so lucky to have Maya on the podcast as my first guest. She has an incredibly diverse performance history, including work in both theater and voiceover. But it wasn't until reaching out to her that I learned that we have something pretty significant in common. You actually attended Sarah Lawrence, which is where I go to school right now.
I sure did.
What was that experience like for you? What did you study?
I adored Sarah Lawrence. I studied theater, but I tried to diversify. I actually transferred there. I started out in a musical theater BFA somewhere else and got kicked out twice.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. And I thought that was my whole life plan, because what I had read was talented actors get their BFA and then they hit the ground running in New York. So, everything was upended. And Sarah Lawrence had one of the better programs that was a Bachelor of Arts. And when I got there, I was just like, oh my goodness, it's my people.
Things didn't go according to Maya's initial plan, but upon arriving at Sarah Lawrence, they realized that it was actually the perfect environment for them. And I feel the same way.
I was focused on theater, but I also took classes in environmental design. I took classes in literature, and I think all of those things serve to inform me as a person, but also inform my work as an actor. And I think people who got through those BFA programs somewhere else are really missing out on how much more of the world there is.
I wholeheartedly agree with this sentiment. Allowing myself to explore numerous areas of interest has helped prepare me for the professional world and provide me with invaluable skills I can apply to future creative endeavors, like this very podcast. What came first for you? Did you fall in love with theater specifically, or voice acting first, or was it just sort of an all-around love for performing?
For me, it was theater first, but I think theater is the most accessible performing. If you have some words, you write them down, you rehearse it trying to get it consistent, or in the case of improv, an agreed upon set of rules, you can just make theater happen. And especially because I graduated at Sarah Lawrence class of 2009, so that was before things were as accessible now for digital video. Now it's a lot easier to make your own movies right off the bat. But I started out in theater, and I loved musical theater. I loved singing with other people. Tuning to others and harmonizing is just absolute bliss for me. I adored that. I didn't really get into voiceover until after I moved to New York, and I started seeing some voiceover auditions on Backstage for character types that I'd be good at, and then I was able to go audition in person and then see the results of that. Then now it's everyone needs to have a remote studio. The game has completely changed.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time in the entertainment industry right now.
Interesting's a word for it.
Yeah. It's the opposite for me. I fell in love with voiceover first.
Sure.
I was an avid reader of credits growing up.
Yeah.
I would watch cartoons and I'd scan the credits and
if I'd see one name pop up on this show, I'd watch another show and the same name would pop up, and I was like, how do they do that?
Oh, who were your favorites? Who inspired you?
My favorites were Jim Cummings,
Oh.
Tara Strong, Greta Lyle.
I've been obsessed with Jim Cummings for years.
Oh, yes.
What a master.
Big time. I actually got to meet him last year at Comic-Con.
Really?
Sobbed.
Oh, yeah.
It was a mess. But I was just like, the talent is difficult to comprehend.
Right?
Yeah. It's amazing.
I did get to see Rob Paulson sing live with his musical collaborator from the Animaniacs. I saw him in New York at Joe's Pub. But he was telling us that when he did the Countries of the World song, Rob nailed it in the first take.
Wow.
To do something that mouthful, to sing it in character and nail it in one, just the amount of work he must have had to do. And I try to remind myself of that when I'm busy and I don't want to like put in the extra work. I'm like, well, that's what makes work interesting. That's what books.
It's so aspirational.
Yeah.
It just makes you want to do it. Makes you want to do everything.
It absolutely does.
Tell me the story of the first time you performed in any capacity.
I couldn't remember off the top of my head because I was an absolute child. Let's see. I got my first lead in 3rd grade. We put on some plays, and I think the play was called The Queen and the Big Stone. It was some morality play adapted for children.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I can wear a pretty outfit and be the center of attention and make jokes and people laugh. And I can do more of this. And that was the first time that really broke for me. But I've always sought it out. So I don't think I could give you the first time I ever performed because it's like breathing. I have always done it in different ways, I guess.
I don't know if it comes across, but that moment in the interview hit me pretty hard. Despite how much I used to deny it, voice acting, performing, is like breathing for me. It fills me up and it feels good to release. I so appreciate the way Maya worded that.
I feel the same way, just in a completely different vein. Theater is something I've always loved. At the same time, I'm just very socially anxious. I don't like being on stage in front of people, and I didn't do my first live performance since elementary school until this year.
Wow.
I was in my elementary school in 5th grade. We put on this little 2-song production of Grease, and I played Sandy. We were all just pretty much dancing along to pre-recorded music and like singing the words along with them, but it was nice. It was also required. We all had a part.
Mandatory fun. I love that.
Yes. But between then and now, there was just this something holding me back. Like I wanted to, and I would get close and I'd tell people I was going to audition, and then I just didn't do it.
Well, in my head, when I'm on stage, it's not me. And I've never really done stand-up because to me that seems terrifying and vulnerable because that's me.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm doing a play, when I'm doing a musical, there was always this mental divide for me. If someone didn't like the play or they didn't like me in the play, that didn't reflect on me because that wasn't who I was.
Yeah, that's how I feel about voiceover. Like, I can be as insane and ridiculous as I want within the comfort of my booth.
Exactly.
But it's different when you feel people's eyes on you and how you sort of carry the story, not just through acting, but through physicality.
Can you talk more about that physicality? I'd love to.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm interpreting it 2 ways, and I just want to hear your point better.
Just your physical presence. People
Sure.
are watching you move, the way you interact with other people on stage. It's just different.
When I'm in my booth, I'm still like waving my arms around, or like if I need a smooth commercial read, I like pretend I'm petting my soft cat. So I think that's useful in a couple of ways, but I don't know. I think I just section off parts of my brain. I'm fortunate enough to be shooting a feature film right now.
Oh, wow.
And it's a horror film.
Ooh.
Very exciting. And our delightful sound guy checked in with me. He was like, hey, in this scene, I have to move the boom around. Is that going to distract you? And I'm like, when I'm in the zone, you don't exist. My brain, like, blots you out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get done whatever I'm doing in that scene, and thank you for looking out for me and, whatever my needs are, but you stop existing once I'm in the moment of the scene. I'm sorry.
No, that's a skill I definitely hope to learn one day, just to be able to shut yourself off.
It's just iterative. If you do it, it'll come.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
How would you say your theater training and extensive background informs your performances in voiceover?
I mean, first off, just straight up script analysis. Coming at it, and especially the way they teach analysis at Sarah Lawrence, has been so productive for me. Because for voiceover, you frequently get 0 details. And you have to create a character, a situation, and especially if they give you 3 or 4 lines and it's for an animated show or it's for a video game, you need to serve up this platter of everything that character might experience if you play them, probably about a minute's time. And having that kind of, what's my moment before? Who am I talking to? What's my relationship with them? Are there other people in the room? Am I yelling across the house? Just having that kind of, like if you read Michael Shurtleff Audition or any of those things that give you basic scene study, script analysis, they don't give you any of those details in auditions for voiceover. And to be able to bring that kind of grounded 3-dimensionality to it, I think has been invaluable. And also, Sarah Lawrence makes you work really hard. I don't know if you've run into people at parties that go, "Oh, I should do voiceover. I've always been told I have a nice voice." Okay, that's an excellent starting point. Do you have acting skills? Do you do improv? Do you write? Do you explore that in any of these other ways? No, but I want to get paid to talk. Well, that sounds great. Me too. Being prepared to put that work in has been very helpful for me. It's like being ready to go to rehearsal for theater.
Absolutely. And that preparedness is something that I really have come to appreciate from learning at Sarah Lawrence, and also just doing voiceover for, at this point, half a decade.
Nice.
I shared with Maya how much I've struggled with stage fright and being perceived while engaging in something that is often so vulnerable, like acting, and she had a really interesting perspective.
And I will say, to your point, while I am successful at blocking off the audience, I think the most vulnerable I feel is showing up to work with another actor in live theater, and I can understand why that feels daunting.
Mm-hmm.
But when you can be vulnerable with the person you're working with, it's amazing. It's like a high for me.
Yeah.
I understand why you would feel that way, because I feel that way. I just don't say anything.
Yeah, I just avoided it. But I'm like trying to work past that because, college is one of the last times the stakes are going to be this low.
Yep.
Once you get out in the real world, there is no sort of safety net. You just have to go for it. And if you feel a little vulnerable or ridiculous, that's how you're going to feel, and you have to do it anyway.
And you can use that. You can run with it. Maybe the character is vulnerable. Like any of these characters, whether it's, I know I keep saying video games and cartoons. I know there's more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But unless you're doing like a phone menu, yeah, no, these characters are 3-dimensional. That vulnerability can be their vulnerability. You can bring it with you.
Yeah.
What would you say the biggest misconceptions about both voiceover and theater are?
Well, I think the biggest misconception about voiceover is that it's just talking. I don't know if I have one big misconception for theater. I think it boils down to the same misconception, because when performers are good, it seems easy. So people want to assume it's not as much work. And I think because it seems easy to watch, people want to assume it's easy to do, and they just underestimate the amount of work that goes into both.
My main life goal is to be in an animated musical of some sort.
That's such a good goal.
Yeah. I've been thinking a lot about this recently, especially with the rise of indie animation and people making their own things.
Indie animation is having a moment.
It's having a moment.
Sorry to talk over you. I'm coming from an excited place.
No, yes. I'm so into it. A lot of the projects I'm working on are indie and still very much in early stages of development. But I'm just like, maybe one day we'll be one of those indie shows that gets picked up by a big network or something or whatever.
Fingers crossed for you. I wish you every success in that direction.
Thank you. That means so much. I guess this is our final question. If you could give me one piece of advice, what would it be?
Play. Explore things. Join a game jam. Join, like you are, indie animation where you can't be sure if it's going to go anywhere. Try out new things, not just the things you know you're good at or the things that'll be impressive. But just try things out for the sake of trying them on. You'll find new things. You can put them in your kit. You won't realize, oh, I can do this voice. Or, oh, if I approach this character like they're all taking this very seriously, then this other ridiculous character will have so much more to play off and seem more ridiculous by comparison. You can just find new things for yourself by breaking out of what's comfortable. And not to be too serious or over-scrutinize while you're doing that. Just be free. Try new things.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's easy for me to feel like I've wasted years I could have spent training, too afraid to even try. And while I sometimes regret not getting involved in live performance and theater until this year, my last year, I wouldn't change anything about my academic experience. What I learned during my time at Sarah Lawrence and from this conversation with Maya is to take advantage of all the resources at your disposal and try new things. And that can look different on everybody. Maya taught me the importance of being an informed actor, taking courses, honing your skills, drawing from your own experiences, and using those things to inform your performances. And learning about how they found their perfect environment for nurturing their craft at Sarah Lawrence stressed the idea of allowing yourself the space to deviate from expectations that you put on yourself. And for that, I'm so grateful. Stay tuned for the next episode, in which I'll be discussing overcoming shyness, building a personal brand, and the value of communication in the industry.
Thank you so much for listening. I believe in you. I'm Kayla B. Marie, and this has been Bow to Booth.